Hello, I'm Tylena Goyo, and you're listening to From Here with a View, a We Are the Seeds Philadelphia podcast. In today's episode, we highlight leadership, community, and the ongoing work for Indigenous representation in Philadelphia. Our guest is Shafiyq Asad Ali, who brings nearly 2 decades of experience in legislative government, community outreach, and strategic leadership. Has been a driving force in strengthening Philadelphia's Indigenous community, from advocating for the recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day in the city to advancing efforts toward the establishment of an Indigenous Commission. In our conversation, we'll explore how L's roots have shaped his vision, the challenges of bringing a diverse Indigenous community together, and what keeps him dedicated to this work, even when the road forward is not easy. Hi, L.
Hi.
Hi. This is amazing. So I'm here with Ali, and we are in the Philadelphia building and the podcast studio, and we're here to have this great conversation. I think, we met, might have been 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
I would say maybe 5 years ago.
Just being in the Indigenous community of Philadelphia. So, and then since then, we've talked a lot about the work that's happening behind the scenes out in public, and you've been such an integral part of the growth of the representation of Philadelphia's Indigenous community and the engagement with the city, the mayor's office, and other institutions throughout the city. So it's really nice to be able to sit down and actually talk to you, because we see each other at events and we're always like, hi, and then now we're here. So before we get started, I would love it if you would share a bit about your background and touch upon how you got into politics.
So I grew up in West Philadelphia. I didn't have like a really close family. My father wasn't there. He left early on. My mother was on drugs, so she was a drug abuser. So who mostly raised me was my grandmother Rose and my great-grandma Madge, who, made sure that me and my sister were, at least growing up okay. Just where I live in West Philadelphia, it's a mixed Black community. The majority of people who live in that community are either Christian or Muslim. There's nothing in between. So I became a Muslim at that time. I changed my name totally. And I think around 19 or so, somebody invited me to a meeting at American Indians of the Delaware Valley. And it just changed my life. So I just met so many elders there to be able to help me answer the questions that I've been trying to find out. I was like, well, who am I? Like, why am I here? Like, what's my purpose? And one of the elders, Pocahontas, Barbara Allen, she really took me under her wing, and she's like my grandmother. And she just raised me to be able to help me find my own direction. I took an internship, and that really changed my life. Going to UAIDV changed my life. I stopped being in the streets, trying to stay on the straight and narrow path, and I went to Eastern University to become a paralegal. I had to do an internship, and so I got my first internship at State Senator Anthony Williams' office. He hired me as a permanent staffer, as liaison, and I just learned so much from government. And when I was applying for Eastern University, there's another American Indian organization in Pittsburgh called the Council of Three Rivers. I had went to them for funding, so they provided me the funding to go to school. I provided all my family history, what I knew, and I was accepted into the grant program, because you can't receive the grant unless you have American Indian heritage. So I was so honored to do that. And when I started with Senator Williams' office, I got their flyers, I had them in my office. Native people who I knew, I made sure they knew about the Council Three Rivers. So I wanted to be able to, at that time, help, just our people to know about the different services that are available, because a lot of people didn't know what COTREC does, or the funding they provide, or the daycare services they provide. And that kind of pushed me further to have my crazy ideas of trying to get legislation passed for our community. There was a lack of American Indians in political offices in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, or at least in the city of Philadelphia. And so I went to Pocahontas and said, hey, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania recognizes American Indians, the history, but they don't recognize the people, that the people are still living here. So I used my political relationships through Senator Williams and spoke with Senator Vince Hughes to pass a resolution to recognize all American Indians, pre and post-colonial, to make sure everyone was included. And it was Resolution 75. It passed in the Senate unanimously. And so that was huge, because that was the first time any legislation had been presented in the House and the Senate for American Indians. There was another legislation in the House just for the Lanai Lenape. At the time when they were trying to get a casino in, I think, northern Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, and one of the state reps was trying to get a bill to be able to help them get the land back for the casino. So after we did that, we did a couple more resolutions. Then I met, at the time, State Representative Vanessa Laurie Brown, and we went to her to do an Indigenous Peoples Day resolution.
So it was you who brought that to her as an idea?
Yes.
And the resolution was to recognize what it was formerly a colonial holiday as Indigenous Peoples Day? And was it to just formally recognize it, or to have some kind of programming or events?
Sure. It was to formally recognize it.
When was this?
This was 2011.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
This was in 2011. Okay. Yes. This was right after Mukuro, Roberto from New York, when I seen a commercial one day called the Reconsider Columbus that he did. And I called him and I said, this is a great idea. I want to do this in Philly. And so that was where the idea came from. It came from him.
Interesting.
It came from him. And Vanessa had put it on the floor. They voted upon it. And so, because it came out of committee, passed out of committee, and was going to vote it on second reading. And so she invited all of us, Vanessa invited all of us to come to Harrisburg for the session. We rented a bus, and we had members of UIDV, we had members of the Taino Confederation as well. We had so many people on that bus, especially elders, part of UEIDV, to come up. And they really, literally rolled out the red carpet. We were all in regalia, and we walked in and it was a red carpet.
Wow.
It was amazing. And Vanessa had read the whole legislation on the House floor. But that day was just unbelievable. And I knew how much community meant to me, but how everyone felt that day of, being united and all coming together with the love of our people and who we are. And it just felt so good. It just felt so good. So, that was the start of Indigenous Peoples Day in the Commonwealth.
That's phenomenal. So at that point, did you work with other folks in the community to create the Indigenous Peoples Day at Bartram's Garden? Is that what happened next?
Well, no. The first Indigenous Peoples Day celebration was at Muhammad's Park in West Philadelphia on 48th and Lancaster, because that was Representative Brown's district. And that's how it started. It started at 48th and Lancaster. And then later, it went to Bartram's Gardens. But for at least 4 years, it was at 48th and Lancaster. That was important for Vanessa because she was a state rep. Right. That's her district. And we didn't have to pay for the space. I think during that time, too, that was when we had wanted to push the ticket even further to now have the city of Philadelphia acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day So through Representative Vanessa Brown, we had a great meeting with Councilman Curtis Jones Jr., who loved it, and he introduced it along with, I think it was Councilman Keanu Johnson too, at that time. Presented on the floor, City Council voted upon it, and we had a huge backing from the community. Everybody from the community, from New Jersey, from Delaware, all came to City Hall to support the legislation. It has felt so good to be able to help bring community together. Like, it wasn't easy, because I think that sometimes we have conflicts with each other and let those conflicts come in the way of our social movements. But to see everybody come together to speak on the council floor in support of the resolution, it was just a great day. It was a great day.
That's beautiful. And so that was about 14 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And let's fast forward to now a bit and talk about the commission.
The commission.
Yeah, and right now you're in like the second cycle of trying to get this commission off the ground. You had touched upon something that we don't have to really go in depth about, but that there are a diversity of tribal nations in and among tribal nations. There are a diversity of opinions and cultures and ways, traditions, and we are not a monolith. And when people want to get Indigenous people together, it's like, why can't you all just agree? It just doesn't work like that. There are layers and layers, generations. And from the outside, seeing the work that you do is that you've been very steady and that you are diplomatic is a really nice way of saying it. But actually, I feel like your heart is in the place where you're like, well, let's just listen to each other. And I have been in rooms where things have been volatile and people are almost trying to give up, but you always seem to come back and bring it back to like, what are our goals? And you're in there doing the work. And I'm just wondering, and we can expand on the commission, but I'm just wondering that we're talking about 15 years ago and now we're talking about today and you're still doing the same work. How do you find the strength to keep going, especially in light of a lot of adversity coming from either the institutional and systemic processes, and then a community that is not always seeing eye to eye?
It's a lot of prayer work and just soul seeking sometimes to be able to navigate it. Sometimes I don't know, right? I don't know, like, how I keep doing it. Sometimes I do want to give up because it's hard. It's hard. We all have, outside of our own purpose, like family, work, and those stresses as well. And I don't like stress. Sometimes bringing community together can be very stressful. And I want to escape too, but, I made a commitment to myself when I went to UAIDV, because my community helped me change my life. Like, I really wouldn't be where I am if I didn't go to that Indian Center at all. I literally probably would be dead or in jail from the things I was doing. And so my own commitment was to try to leave a legacy for people behind me. Like, I take a lot of the pressure, a lot of the heat for trying to push community together a lot.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't bother you?
It does bother me. It does bother me, but I want to leave this earth with something. I want to leave something for community, for my children. I want to leave something behind for others who don't have access to a lot of things we have access to. So I know my purpose, and no matter how hard it is, I just want to push through and to be able to leave something behind for others, because that was the commitment that I made. And I mean, I really would not be here if it wasn't for that center. So, and especially the center is going now, like, I really owe a lot to my elders who helped shape me in my community. So this is my commitment to them. So, and until my work is done, I'm gonna keep working. no matter how hard it is.
That's impressive, because it's not only just a lot of work on paper, but it's a lot of work mentally, and there are just so many layers. It's just a big emotional weight. But you've gotten so much done, so you actually have seen the fruits of your labor, and so that's good. But yeah, I'm just always very impressed by your approach and patience and your passion to push forward, because I don't think it's for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, everybody has their own responsibilities. Some people don't want to do the work or can't, you know, so somebody got to do it. So I just put the pressure on me. So, you know, I'll take the tough calls and, you know, L, you're doing too much, or slow down. And I say, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing.
But I like how you always take that and then you're like, let's bring it back to center. Let's focus. But you're like, I hear you. Let's focus.
Hello, listeners. Zachariah here. I just wanted to share one of my favorite sites for buying Indigenous art and learning about Indigenous artists. An Indigenous woman-owned and operated business, ProjectAntelope.com is an innovative online marketplace that features fine arts, fashion, books, music, and home goods. If you like to support Indigenous art and artists, ProjectAntelope.com is a great place to start. Tell them I sent you.
So I'd like to ask about Councilmember Jeffrey Young Jr. and how you're connected with him and how this connection with the city government in this way has helped you elevate Indigenous representation in Philadelphia, and what opportunities do you see for making lasting policy changes for our community?
The councilman was the attorney for my business, and he decided he wanted to run for political office. So he was the first person I called, because we own a national data and technology company. So my ask of his win was the commission. I said, if you win, I don't want anything else. My community needs a commission. Will you do it? He said yes.
Can you explain to our listeners and viewers what the commission really is and what it represents for a city like Philadelphia where active erasure is happening for Indigenous people?
Yeah, so a commission is a process that the mayor or city council sets up for communities to be able to address public policy. And then that commission is tasked with helping to, one, not only shape public policy, but really to create bridges between communities and the different departments in the city, whether it's the Department of Health, the School District of Philadelphia, hiring in the city, to make sure that the city includes diversity in its hiring for American Indians, well, just all commissions in total, and really to lead the ideas of having a particular community can be not only integrated within the mayor or city council, but can make sure that they're setting up public policy. So in that process, I there's a couple commissions in the city, like there's the African and Caribbean Commission, there's the Asian and Pacific Islander Commission, there's the Aging Commission for Seniors, there's the Aging and Disability, there's the Hispanic Commission. So all these other communities in this diverse city have commissions. Except for our community, but that's not necessarily true, because I think it was Mayor Rendell at the time when he was mayor. He had a good relationship with Buffy Redfeather. I think it was in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. So on behalf of Buffy, he created a commission for Native Americans in the city.
But they had offices at City Hall, right?
Yes, they had an office at City Hall. Mm-hmm. And it lasted for a while, but because of the interconflicts, between a lot of members and UEIDV in the community, it didn't last. It didn't last. So I wanted to pick up the mantle with the councilman's help to be able to bring it back and to really use it to really build up our community and sustain it, especially after the center is gone. So the Councilman Young has been a huge ally where others didn't want to take it up. There was some very public discourse, and the mayor's office and other council members knew, and nobody wanted to pick it up. Nobody wanted to touch it anymore at all. So nobody wanted to hear anything about the Native community in the city. Councilman Young, he kept his promise. He felt our community does need this. He wanted to, lead it and use his resource of his office to finally get it done and give me the ability and the power with council in order to do it.
And where are you now with it?
We created our working group. We brought everybody together, which was not as easy, again. But everybody is working together, at least, in building the working group to build the foundation for the commission. And I think everyone's at a place where they feel now empowered, that we're, no matter the differences that we all have, we all understand that this is the goal now. Like, the commission is the goal, and it's a great feeling. We're further along than we have been before, ready to write our own legislation to make it happen. So he's doing a different process. Normally commissions are created by the mayor through executive order. We haven't had a huge conversation with current Mayor Sherelle Parker yet. She hasn't been too receptive to be what have means, but I understand because of the history.
The past experience.
Right, the past experience from the community disagreeing on a lot of stuff. So
it took up a lot of resources and time, and then it never went anywhere.
A lot. Literally, Mayor Kinney was ready to sign. To create the executive order to create a commission. The ball was in the community's hands. Yeah. And all the community had to do was just come together, and it would have been done. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And you know what, too? I really kind of gave up at that time. I was fed up.
It's understandable.
I felt emotionally hurt. I felt embarrassed because I was using a lot of political capital to get where we were. And I just felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed for me. I felt embarrassed for our community. And just really hurt. I just wanted to give up. And my wife kind of talked me coming back into it.
Really?
Yeah, she did, because I was just so tired at that point. And I was like, I don't care who's going to hate me. I'm going to do it. And it's working out.
It's working out.
But it's still stressful. So stressful because we're still navigating a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the background sometimes that our community don't see politically that goes on that I also have to navigate too. And
that you can't be upfront about, right? There's things that you can't say, and you're working in everybody's best interest, but you can't say why exactly.
Right. I think sometimes some members of the community feel that I'm being secretive.
You have to navigate the system the way it requires.
Right. And especially working in government, because you see it from all sides. Like, whether I'm on a grassroots side or in government, I see it from all sides. But in city council, everything is built upon relationships. And nothing gets done unless you have relationships. So it's important that our community has relationships with elected officials in order to get stuff done. We have cultural organizations, we have educational institutions, we have a lot of community who don't have access to government resources that other communities have. And that's important. I remember one conversation I had with the chair of the African and Caribbean Commission. And he said that their commission during COVID was able to organize COVID responses for their community using the city's health department.
That's huge.
Yes. So I really thought of the impact that, having a commission can really have on community. It's not, a commission not leading community. It supports the community and organizations that help the community.
So, but what is your take on, I think one of the issues is that community has different ideas of what is our community, right? So there are some conversations about whether people who aren't from North America, indigenous to North America, are part of our community, or people from Lenape folks from other states are part of our community, or are trying to take space in our community when they don't even live in Philadelphia. Right? There's a lot of this kind of conversation that takes up a lot of time and air and space, but isn't really relevant to the facts and the work that you do with the city. So how do you kind of acknowledge that people are having these concerns, but also make sure that we're being inclusive of the actual indigenous people in the city, whether they're indigenous from Central and South America or, but if they're Philadelphia citizens, then they should be represented. But how do you kind of negotiate all of that?
Well, one, just using the city structure as a commission, any city commission can't discriminate against anyone.
Okay.
So that is the law.
Okay.
That no commission can discriminate against anyone.
So if we wanted to be a part of say the Asian Commission or the African American Commission, then we would be able to participate?
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I'm Asian, so I can participate. I didn't know I said that. I couldn't think of another one.
Yeah, I mean, but that kind of is true, though, right? But at the same time, I feel that where you have diverse ethnicities of the same quote-unquote group, and just to give you an example, the Asian and Pacific Islander Commission.
That's such a wide scope, right?
Right, and so you have people from India, you have people in Bangladesh, and from Japan, and from China and Korea.
And Hawaii.
Right, and Hawaii.
Who could also be in the Indigenous Commission.
Yes. And some of those communities don't like each other either. It's not like, because, the Chinese don't
those are
have good relations
entire
with
countries.
Koreans, right? Yeah, and they all have their own history and conflicts with each other as well, right?
Yeah.
But they're able to pull all their resources together.
For the best interest of
the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so that's why I see, letting the city's guidelines lead us on diversity to make sure that the commission, this is an intertribal community. There's no federally recognized communities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania at all. So everyone is intertribal, right? From somewhere, whether they are members of federally recognized communities in other states, whether they're part of state recognized communities from other states. Everybody lives here, whether they're from Central or South America or from the Caribbean islands. They all live here in the city, and we're all intertribal community. So the commission has to reflect the diversity of the population of that community. So we can't just have people who are just only federally recognized, or only people who are federally and state recognized, or only natives from the East Coast or the West Coast or the Midwest, or it has to really reflect the diversity. Now, I think that's really important when we're talking about policy, creating public policy for ourselves, our families, our elders, and our children, and creating the economic viability that we need from our own businesses that we operate as well, for the commission to be the hub for our community to receive the resources that we desperately need. And so, it's important for us to have conversations and to talk about, who would this commission represent, right? And how do we define who is American Indian? And we've had those conversations for over 100 years. And I feel like, everybody knows they are, right? And everybody knows community, so we've been around. I can't define that for somebody else. I don't want to, because I don't want people defining me. So I feel that it's for us to keep it open when we have the process to elect commissioners, to have a process to vet people, to bring in people who have the experience, who's not going to just, leave Philadelphia next year because the commission is only for Philadelphia residents. You have to live in the city. And for people to have the best interest of the community. And we leave it up to the community to answer that call to be diverse.
Thank you. Okay, last question. You've been deeply invested in creating meaningful change for Indigenous people in Philadelphia, as evidenced by everything you shared today. And we often face our own challenges here. What keeps you committed to the work? What drives your determination to build stronger community connections despite the obstacles?
My children, and that's number one. And also my commitment to my elders, especially Robert Allen. We used to talk about a commission. We used to talk about a parade, because we should have a parade.
Well, you did organize one a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was small.
It was cool.
It was. And
we were in it.
Yes. And I just want for us to do something like the Mummers Parade, like how large it is, the production. And I see that, for us having a parade that goes down the Parkway and do a, larger performance in front of the Art Museum, like all other communities do with the Irish Day Parade, or other communities have parades too, so just as organized and well funded by partially from the city as well. So we deserve that too. So
do you think it's more for us, or to have the acknowledgement from the city, or for people to see? What is the goal about the parade?
I think all three.
Okay.
I feel all three. I feel it's important for us to see us. I think it's important for the city to acknowledge our community. We are not a small community at all. We may be diverse, but we're not small. And I think it's also the city's responsibility to help fund it.
Do you know if there are any updated numbers about who identifies as Native in the city and how to access them?
No.
So there's no access, right, for census or anything like that?
We have census records, but...
they're not public?
They are public. 6,000 people.
But where do they live? And that kind of the data is, I think, is really interesting, because there are a lot of community members we don't know, and don't know that anything exists here for Indigenous community.
That's true, but I also think that some of the census data is flawed on that, because I think
it's self-identified.
It's self-identified as well, but also at the same time, like with the census, if you're not home and they talk to your neighbor, they can ask your neighbor about you. And if your neighbor doesn't know about you, then they'll fill out the form on your behalf, right?
Yeah, the census is definitely flawed.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's caused a lot of chaos for a lot of people.
Right, and then you have community members who may choose to pick other groups plus, right? And then that's not counted. So I feel that our community is larger than the 6,000. It's
not counted?
No, it's not counted.
But there are so many people who identify as a lot of different cultures.
That's true, but it's not included in the total.
So then you just get eliminated.
They don't get eliminated, but they're sectioned off into another different group. So say if I put Black American and also American Indian, I won't get counted. They'll automatically choose Black because of the community that I live in.
Really?
Yes. There's huge issues. And that's one of the things I think the work for the commission to do is to help the city with the data portion as well, to collect data, because you also have a lot of indigenous migrants from Central South America who don't identify as Hispanic at all, right? Mm-hmm. But some may put white, but they're not either, right? So, but they'll be counted in that.
Right, so we're underreported and then under-resourced.
Right, So how do we collect that data? I was talking to one of members of our working group, and he was telling me he applied for Philadelphia Police Department, and at the time they were doing diversity hiring, and they told him that American Indians were not considered minorities and part of the diverse.
For the diversity?
Yeah. So I didn't understand that part. But then I also look at, like, let's say a police department complaint when the police department fill out and they have the selection of race for people, that American Indian is not on there. So it's either black, white, Hispanic, or other, right? So a commission could and can push government, the mayor, because the police department's under the mayor's office, to be able to change the police reports, so that now you have American Indian on there. So now this is data that we can have, or make sure that people understand who don't speak Spanish, who maybe speak Nahuatl or something else, like who are not Hispanic, to understand that they also are American Indian, right? And so now we have more data to say, whoa, but there are more indigenous peoples than the city of Philadelphia. We didn't have a process in a way in order to collect the data, but a commission can help set up processes with the different departments to be able to record, to make sure we have the data.
Right, that is so important. So finally, I just want to know if you feel hopeful.
I feel hopeful now. Well, I feel hopeful every day. Every day I wake up, I'm hopeful.
Amazing.
I mean, it's taken a long time, but I look at what do we got to lose by trying? So that's my mantra now.
And we have everything to gain.
Right, everything.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today on From Here with a View. Your perspective is so important, and I'm just so thankful for all the work that you do and all the commitment and dedication you have to the Indigenous community of Philadelphia. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so
for
much. Being here.
It feels good. Thank you.
It's great. It's great having you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for this inspiring conversation with Shafiyq Asad Ali. While the vision for an Indigenous Commission in Philadelphia has yet to be realized, L's decades-long leadership and service have helped move the community forward. Thanks for listening to From Here with a View, a We Are the Seeds Philadelphia podcast.
Please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. You'll be helping us grow our listener community and elevate the impact of our podcast. You can learn more about this podcast at wearetheseeds.org. From Here with a View is executive produced by Michelle St. John with Zachariah Julian and Tyler Nagoyo producing. Sound mixing and original theme music by Zachariah Julian. To listen to more from Zachariah, follow him on Spotify and Apple Music. From Here with a View logo art was inspired by an original oil pastel drawing by artist Jason Weesaw. Graphic design by Fernanda Leon. This podcast was funded in part by Independence Public Media Foundation.